Hello everybody, I am Renee Kairos, and let's begin.
Okay, so there has been some recent drama between Lauren Southern and Cathy Young, which started with somebody saying that potential contentious but worthy Follow Friday starting with the lineup for the free speech team. And both Cathy Young and Lauren Southern are on the list of being two people who are very pro-free speech. And Cathy Young states, I appreciate the mention, but given that Lauren's latest stance in posting for a photo with an actual literal fascist, Alexander Dugan, I have doubts about this list, to be honest. In other words, what Cathy Young is saying is that she doesn't believe that Lauren Southern is for free speech. Now, there is nothing anti-free speech in Cathy Young's statements. She is questioning whether or not Lauren Southern is actually for free speech. Questioning whether or not a person is for free speech is not anti-free speech. Lauren Southern responds to this criticism by saying, you've become the SJWs you fought back in the gamergate days, which I believe is, in my opinion, hypocritical on so many levels, but we'll get to that later. You took a picture with a person, that means you agree with everything they say. It must be reprimanded. But to be fair, Lauren, you are enthralled by that guy, You did say that you are enthralled by him, and you did say that he has changed your mind on individualism. Lauren says, you may support free speech in theory, but you'll happily outcast anyone who speaks with those you disagree with. Lauren, criticizing you isn't anti-free speech. That is the dumbest thing that I ever heard. I am pretty sure that Christy Winters loves your arguments where criticizing a person is anti-free speech. I mean, honestly, all Cathy Young did was criticize Lauren Southern. In fact, all she did was question whether or not Lauren Southern is for free speech. And Lauren Southern's like, oh yeah, you may support free speech in theory, but you'll happily outcast anyone who speaks with us you disagree with. That's not anti-free speech, Lauren. I mean, honestly, Christy Winters, I would bet you any amounts of money that Christy Winters wishes that she came up with that type of reasoning when it comes to bearing. I fucking hate you, Bearing, you serial harasser, you! I fucking hate you. You are a serial harasser and you keep criticizing me. You are anti-free speech, Bearing. You do not support free speech at all. Any criticism towards me is the exact same thing as hating free speech altogether. You may support free speech in theory, but you criticize me. Therefore, you are against free speech in practice. I hate you, Bearing. You suck. You're a horrible person. You're a horrible garbage human being. You are a bully. You are a serial harasser. Oh my goodness, Bearing. You are anti-free speech, Bearing. You are anti-free speech.
Jesus, fuck.
Another thing that makes this statement really hypocritical is her use of the term SJW. When it comes to the alt-right, she wants to be very, very nuanced. She wants to split hairs, you know what I mean? She wants to be very pedantic. She wants to get it right. It's not white supremacist. It is, like Richard Spencer, he wants a white ethno-state.
So if it doesn't exist, then what? Well, you would agree that some of it exists, right? There's something there somewhere. That's true.
Yeah, even the Richard Spencers of the world, like they're kind of misrepresented as well. Like Richard Spencer is not a white supremacist. He is a white nationalist. He believes in a white ethno-state. He doesn't believe in whites being superior. So
the alt-rights, we must be nuanced. We must be very, very, very nuanced. But, you know, when it comes to the left, it's okay to call them SJWs. It doesn't matter if they self-identify as, you know, a progressive, or it doesn't matter if they self-identify as a Democrat. It doesn't matter how a person actually identifies themselves. Oh, no. Like, when it comes to the left, it's like, oh, yeah, SJWs. To anybody you disagree with, is an SJW. But we got to be nuanced. We must be nuanced on so many levels when it comes to the alt-rights. We can't use white supremacists, even though nobody self-identifies as a white supremacist. There's not going to be one single person in this world that self-identifies as a white supremacist. The term white supremacist is a lot like the term feminazi or SJW. It's not something a person assigns to themselves. It's a derogatory term for the people who believe in white ethno-states. So you are either really, really dumb, or you are using a red herring. And I think that you are deliberately using a red herring as far as the white nationalists are concerned. This is what Richard Spencer had to say about Lauren Southern.
About the alt-right, and she kind of distanced herself from us and said, oh, she didn't really know who we were. And then, you know, with the MPI conference and hailed Trump and my kind of rise to greater prominence, then I can't really support this kind of thing. But I have found this a little bit interesting, or maybe a lack of self-awareness on Lauren Southern's part, where she has been promoting European identitarians, and she and Brittany Pettibone have. And Brittany Pettibone seems to be dating Martin Zellner, which I, of course, think is a great thing. And I guess my first provocative question was kind of like, so you claim ignorance about the alt-right. You thought the alt-right was just a bunch of edgy guys who were into small government, you know, but plus Pepe or something. And I go, you were ignorant, that's fair enough. I'll give you, you know, I'll believe you. But are you equally ignorant about identitarianism? Because identitarianism is not about Pepe and small government. I mean, identitarianism, if it has any meaning at all, it is a political activism that is derived from the European New Right thinking. And so it is not about small government. It's not even about just French nationalism or Austrian nationalism. It's actually much deeper and certainly has a racial and civilizational component to it. And so I was just asking, are you equally ignorant of this movement, and are you going to denounce them or distance yourself from them? So I was being provocative. Her answer to all of this, she didn't really answer that question. But her answer to all of this was that America is such a new. I don't know. I am a little bit skeptical of the Lauren Southern type, that they seem to want to become. They want to kind of have their cake and eat it too, where they want to claim that they're not truly alt-right, they're not identitarian, they're journalists who are dating identitarians. I'm not sure. I'm not sure you can have the greatest objectivity when you're doing that. But they kind of want to have their cake and eat it too, kind of, you know, touch on that hot, you know, radical quality, but not go there and always have a plausible deniability about it. And she was making these disingenuous arguments. You know, like it's like it's like they'll say something that is kind of sort of true or something, but it's just meant to be a kind of escape valve, so we don't have to talk about these things. But just the fact that she makes these little kind of nitpicky things that does bother me. because it does. I don't think those kind of arguments are genuine.
I actually have to agree with Richard Spencer here. Lauren Southern is being nitpicky, pedantic, and disingenuous when she wants to split hairs on whether it's white supremacist or whether it's white nationalist or ethnostatist. When white supremacist is a derogatory term, it's no different than the term SJW, which she has no problem calling Cathy Young. White supremacist and SJW is pretty much the same thing. They're both derogatory terms. Like SJW is a derogatory term for a progressive. A white supremacist is a derogatory term for a neo-Nazi, a white nationalist, an alt-righter, or a white identitarian. It's basically anybody who's pro-white is viewed as a white supremacist, basically. And I am glad that I am not the only person who feels like Lauren Southern is splitting hairs and using a red herring. Another person who feels this way is the Golden One. Even the Golden One felt the need to call her out.
View to give support for French identitarians, but not give support for American identitarians, saying that America is such a young country and that Americans don't have any identity or that don't make any exceptions from France or America. And when you compare the identitarian movements in Europe to the alt-right guys in America or the other colonies, there isn't really that much difference. Sure, the identity cannot say, you know what, it's okay for these Europeans to be nationalists, but not for these Americans. And obviously I understand it perhaps is better optics to support the hip and cool identitarians and not support the extreme far-right, alt-right guys. But in my view, I think we should be intellectually honest and support each other in this war. I don't think it is acceptable for white Americans to be displaced and ridiculed and mocked. And talking about the difference between alt-right and identitarians, etc., it's ethno-nationalist guys who have an interest in the culture war. It is not really that much difference. So anyway, my main point with this video is just to emphasize the fact that we are in one international struggle and the entire white Western civilization is scheduled for the Great Replacement, and we should view it as such.
The Golden One and Richard Spencer are not the only ones worried about the Great Replacement. Even Lauren Southern is worried about the Great Replacement. And on a side note, I know it's like not really all that related, but I'm going off on a tangent here. But as a side note, it also bothers me when Lindsay Shepherd uses the whole white supremacist red herring, because it's a red herring and it's meant to be a distraction from a real argument.
So for days leading up to the Faith Goldie event and for days afterwards as well, I could be anywhere around campus and I'd hear a white supremacist neo-Nazi is coming to campus, or Lindsay Shepherd invited a white supremacist neo-Nazi to Laurier. So Faith Goldie, to my understanding, is not either of those things. She is far-right or alt-right, but she's not a white supremacist and she's not a neo-Nazi. But the left, again, they try to hijack this conversation and they try to confuse people. They want to remove the nuance. They even want it to make it unacceptable to acknowledge that there's a nuance. So when I was doing radio interviews about the Faith Goldie event, people would ask me how I feel about Faith Goldie's views. And I found myself explaining the difference between white nationalism and white supremacism, because there's a huge difference. And the left wants to make it so that even if you acknowledge that difference, there must be like something really dangerous or something really scary about you. And so even when I was explaining that difference, I felt like very self-conscious about it, right?
That seems relevant, but actually is not. A red herring occurs when something is introduced to an argument that misleads or distracts from the relevant issue. The term originates from a past practice that involved dragging a strong-smelling red herring across one's trail to throw dogs off the scent. Similarly, people often introduce irrelevant details into an argument to divert attention from the real issue at hand. The red herring falls under the broader category of fallacies of relevance. These are fallacies that arise when a premise, whether true or not, is not adequately related to the conclusion. Two other common fallacies of relevance are appeals to authority and ad hoc.
Okay, sorry about that. I don't know, I got distracted. Anyway, back to the topic at hand. Cathy Young says, Lauren, you came crying to me that you sometimes feel like you are losing your humanity, hanging out with your new buddies. Now you're posting for a friendly photo with a guy who calls for genocide. Congratulations. And this is what Cathy Young is talking about, how Lauren Southern says that she feels like she's been losing herself a little and that she feels like she's becoming a psychopath. But it's very long, so I would allow you to read it for yourself. Next is Lauren Southern being a man-hater. I am beginning to think that she and Christy Winters would make really good friends. Even feminists tend to reserve phrases like toxic masculinity for political enemies. You're never ever going to see Christy Winters call men she likes, like Steve Shives or Kevin Logan, of toxic masculinity. It's always men who are political enemies. It's never ever going to be an attack on men who are political allies. So in the end, it's, the horseshoe theory in action. I don't see much of a difference between the right using cuck, soy boy, beta male, and the left using toxic masculinity, mansplaining, masculinity so fragile. It's all man-hating to me. Next is Lauren Southern overreacting to a pride flag. Damn, just saw a fire truck covered in the pride flag. Can't wait to be caught in a fire and have to ask, Oi, oi, we're coming to get you, but first, do you love LGBTTM? I mean, could you imagine if this was like the Confederate flag? If this was a Confederate flag, Lauren Southern would tell the left to get over it. Like, oh my God, the left is overreacting to a Confederate flag. It's just a flag. Get over it. It's no big deal. Yet again, another first world problem. The left must overreact to the tiniest things. Who overreacts to the flag? And here, Lauren Southern is overreacting to a rainbow flag. Oh my God, I mean, horseshoe theory in action. Right now, Lauren Southern is being a right-wing SJW. It's Pride Month right now, and every bank, every city hall, every university is adorned in rainbow flags. It's hilarious to still watch lefty activists pretender in the civil rights movement when the corporations, politicians, and universities tout their ideas. All you really have to do is reword it a little bit just to see how ridiculous it sounds. It's the 4th of July right now, and every bank, every city hall, every university is adorned in American flags. It's hilarious to watch Americans pretend they're winning independence from England when the war is long over. There were gay people who were getting beaten for being gay during my lifetime. There are gay people who committed suicide because they were afraid of coming out to their parents and their parents disowning them during my lifetime. This is only 10 years ago. If gay people want to celebrate with a rainbow flag, it's really no big deal. I mean, it is really, to me, a bigger first world problem to make a big deal out of no big deal. Now, there is one final point that I wasn't sure if I wanted to bring up concerning Lauren Southern. Mainly because I took it from the American Pride's YouTube channel, and I don't know if the American Pride has taken her out of context. So take this next following clip with a grain of salt, because for me, I do not watch Andy Worski's channel. I watch American Pride, so I can have all of the highlights of Andy Worski's channel. So if Lauren Southern was taken out of context, I do apologize.
Another thing that's going to be in the documentary that I know is going to get me in so much trouble, but I did it anyway. Have you ever heard of a place called Orania?
Okay, I think you told me this. Like you told
so
me this.
Trouble.
Yeah, you told me this. This is a fantastic story. Please go ahead and say it. This is great.
I can't tell all the stories on here, but
yeah,
Orania is so when apartheid when they ended apartheid, there was a group of people that were just like, nope, we want nothing to do with this. We're going to make our own white ethno state and see ya. And for some reason, the apartheid ended government said, you know what, fine, we'll let you have one ethno state. To be fair, though, there are tons of areas known as the Black tribal homelands where only Black people can live on them. And they're these huge, vast areas that are like 1 billion times the size of Orania. But Orania is this one area, and it's probably one of the only places in the world where it's a Boer Afrikaner community that's only allowed white people there. And it was the most bizarre place I've ever gone to in my entire life. I walked into the government office, and the government office has a giant poster of Andrew Breitbart in it. Like they're like this super right-wing ethno state. And I do a piece on them because they were just really interesting. So that will be in the documentary. It's the reason Orania is so controversial in documentary is just because the facts about it are really upsetting. Like to tell people, like I can't even say it without knowing people are going to be offended, but they have a literally 0 crime rate. Like I know that sounds horrible, but they do. They have a 0 crime rate. It's close to 0, other than like a domestic here and there. Like I spoke to them and I like asked them multiple times. I went to the government and I was like, "Are you serious? Tell me right now." Like, you're telling me you don't have crime here. And they're like, we just don't. And then I walk outside and everyone's like left the keys in their cars and everything and their motorcycles. And I'm like, this is just inherently offensive.
I'll be honest. Compared to the farmland section and that place, I'd live in the ethno state, like straight up. If I had to pick, call me offensive, call me whatever the fuck you want. I have to have motion detectors outside my house to not be afraid, and dogs and shit, or head to a place where there's like no crime. Come on, guys.
They've asked to expand it, but they're not allowed to expand it. That's the thing. Okay. So they only have a limited number of people that can live there.
Now, if she wasn't taken out of context, then I wish she would know that it's most likely due to the fact that Ontario or whatever, Orion, whatever, it's a small community, and small communities generally don't have crime because everybody knows each other and they police each other, and bigger places commit crime because, like, you don't know those people, It's going to be harder to commit crimes on your neighbors that you talk to, you socialize with, that than it is to harm a total complete stranger. Nobody's going to harm people within their social group. I mean, sure, you have you do have people who suffer from mental illness and they would hurt their family and friends, but in small communities, again, they would just police each other. Anyway, this has been Renee Michaelis. Please like, subscribe, comment, and share everywhere. Please let me know if you agree with me. Do you disagree with me? Do you think that perhaps maybe I was too harsh? I would really love to hear your thoughts. Bye-bye.